Okay, we're back. We didn't get very far in the last class. We did get to the second sentence of the whole of the introduction, the cover sentence, the background sentence. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking right now, my God, this man is going 2 sentences per 40-minute lecture. It's going to take forever to finish. Well, we did cover some very, very important ideas last class. Last class I talked about the before and after. Remember? Remember? Think. The before, remember, was what the, kind of like the cause, and the after is kind of like the effect. But every SAT essay topic, I said, has 2 parts. The first part is the before. It's kind of like the cause. It is the first part that must be given an example of in order to support your case. And last class, we talked about, is creativity needed more than ever in the world today, as one of the examples. So last class, the before, we needed to, in the body paragraphs, eventually give evidence of somebody having creativity, for example. And then the after I talked about last class is almost always success, 90% of the time, and sometimes can be failure. So the after in the body paragraph, eventually, we'll have evidence of the failure or the success that they have. So for instance, I said, Thomas Edison, what was the creativity that he had? Well, he tested many, many filaments. The filament is this is, I know, a bad drawing, but in a light bulb, this is the filament. So he tested many, many different kinds of filaments, even, and then putting it in his own hair, and it, of course, burnt out very, very quickly. But he tested many thousands of materials for the filament. So we were kind of working into the idea that that is the creativity. So the second evidence that he has, that we must have, is that he turned out to be a success. Doesn't that look great? You know, this. So anyway, we're going to continue on with the SAT introduction. We talked about the hook. We talked about that it's going to be a strong opinion hook, that we have to make a strong opinion statement, and we talked about how to make the sentence from the subject to the verb, how that we should start out with a quotation from the hook, quotation from the prompt to start out as a subject for the hook, and that we can make up any verb that can connect to that quotation and use that quotation as a subject, the verb as the main verb, and then finish the sentence so that it makes sense. And I said that you should keep it under about 12 words per hook sentence, okay? And the cover sentence we talked about, I just got done with giving you kind of an overview of the cover sentence and kind of talking about the different parts of the cover sentence. So we're going to go on and talk a little bit more about the cover sentence today. So it's the cover sentence. It's a 2-part compound sentence. Compound sentence is a type of sentence where you have a subject, verb, object, comma, some coordinating conjunction. Coordinating conjunctions are, you're thinking, that's difficult. Coordinating conjunctions are words like and, but. So these are coordinating conjunctions. So and or but are coordinating conjunctions. We're almost always going to use the and. So 2-part compound sentence for the 2 examples. Let's say Thomas Edison and Helen Keller. To be covered, that's a V here, to be covered in the body paragraphs. Okay? So this is a symbol for paragraph. I'll be using it often because it takes a long time to spell out paragraph, P-A-R-A-G-R-A-P-H, P-A-R-A-G-R-A-P-H. So cover sentence is where we got to. The transition sentence and the thesis statement is going to be, we're going to cover it fairly quickly. Let me talk about a couple of very common errors that students make when they make the SAT introduction though. The hook sentence must be short, okay? The reason for that is this cover sentence is going to be long, okay? The reason for that is it shows a variation in sentence length, which immediately says that, well, you're not a dull writer. So this transition sentence, you're going to find out later on, is very similar to the hook in structure. So this is going to be short, this is going to be short, this is going to be long, okay? And then the thesis statement is going to be medium length. So you're going to have immediately a fairly good variation in sentence structure right now. Now, since the cover sentence is a compound sentence, you could very easily split up the compound sentence, the two main clause, the two independent clause, sentence joined by a conjunction. You could separate them into individual main clause, independent clause sentences. But if you did that, you would have a short sentence here, two short sentences, and then another short sentence. So it'll be 4 sentences in a row that are short. That would advertise the fact that you are a very incompetent writer. Short, 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 medium length. So your grader, your reader will look at your writing so far and say, well, you know, this guy makes short sentences all the time. And, you know, they're not terribly sophisticated in structure, although you could use some more sophisticated diction and so forth like that anytime that you want. But they're not terribly sophisticated in structure, so the variation in sentence length breaks down when you do this in a separate sentence. And another very common error is that when students make this cover sentence into 2 separate sentences, the overwhelming temptation is, you know that it's short. So students want to make this sentence longer so that there is a short and long contrast in these 2 sentences. When you do that, the problem is that the longer cover sentences, since you have 2 of them, one for each example in the body paragraph, since you have 2 of them, you have to make both of them about equally long. That's kind of an unwritten rule in introduction writing, that the background has to be kind of parallel in idea, parallel in structure, parallel in similarity of importance. So you have to make both sentences fairly long. When you do these 2 sentences fairly long, your introduction is going to get monstrously long. So I say that let's keep this under 9 words, or under 9 lines. So under 9 lines, the reason for that is it's very easy to write an introduction that is more than 9 lines. And many students do this, even in their school writing. But the problem is when we get to the conclusion, and we'll talk about it later on, when you get to the conclusion, maybe you're running out of time. Maybe you only have like 2-3 minutes left over. Then when you wrote this monstrously long introduction, you get to the conclusion and you write this very short paragraph conclusion, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 sentences long, but maybe only 4 lines long. That difference in length between the introduction and conclusion alone can be reason enough to deduct a point off for each grader. So you'll go from a 10 to a 8 just because of the difference in length. Okay? So keep this under 9 lines, not because I don't think you can write it longer, but because we have to consider that we might end up writing a short conclusion because we ran out of time, or we ran out of space, or both. Okay? So let's go on and talk about the cover sentence. Now, I wrote the cover sentence. I wrote the cover sentence in a formulaic outline here. So full name of your first example. So Thomas Edison, in possessive form. Thomas Edison's, and then the subject. So the before representing noun phrase. So for the essay topic, is creativity needed more than ever in the world today? So for this essay topic, is creativity needed more than ever in the world today? Which is on page 9 and 10. Okay? On page 9 and 10 in your textbook, okay, you will see this essay topic. So on page 9 and 10, is creativity needed more than ever in the world today? I said, whatever example that you're going to have to use creativity as the before. You must have example of somebody having creativity in their life. And the needed implies the after, the success. So you're not going to come up with a creativity of some invention or some product that is not needed. You don't need an automatic